For some of you who've been watching my channel for the past few years at the least, you'll know that I have pointed out that the Alabama defense has had a few systemic and structural issues for a few years now, usually related to player execution. I know a lot of times, which I understand why we like to blame the coaches for a lot of things, and we like to say, oh, if they were just coached better, X, Y, Z would have happened. The main issue I have with that is that sometimes the scheme could be correct, the play can be correct, the game plan can be correct, or at least a good one or good enough, but the players still have to do what they have to do. And Alabama has struggled with that a little bit. And maybe some might say, well, do a simpler scheme or do something different, which Alabama did change. Even in the Nick Saban era, there were different coordinators, and we may have simplified some things or went back to some more complicated things. And the issues kind of persisted in different ways. And now we're seeing, because Alabama's on another scheme with Kane Womack for the past 2 years, we're seeing some new issues. And I will say that primarily what we saw against Florida State, one of the main issues was the linebacker play, second level of Alabama's defense, not quite getting done what they need to for certain parts of the run game against Florida State. A lot of the big runs came from, honestly, some bad execution. So let's hop right into it. So you got the D-line of Alabama here on this first play that I'm showing you. Honestly, the defensive line here did a good job. They're not super disruptive. They're not all amazingly strong. This isn't like Dalvin Tomlinson and Jonathan Allen and, all those guys, Tim Smith. It's not that type of D-line, but these guys actually did their assignment. They filled their gap. They did what they were supposed to do. But if you notice, the linebackers didn't shift or attack the gaps or flow to the sideline, honestly. And you can see Lawson, number 0 at linebacker, and you see Jefferson, number 10. They both were out of position immediately on this play as it started. And that led to a pretty significant gain for Florida State. If your linebackers don't do what they're supposed to do in their assignment, it's very easy for the running back to exploit it. As a matter of fact, the running back is taught to read the gap, see where the linebackers are, see where his open gap is, and take it. Quarterback does the same thing on quarterback runs. So let's hop into the next play, and you'll see a similar pattern. You're going to see Lawson and Jefferson once again mess up. They're going to attack the same gap on this read option. Now, I'm not an expert. I'm not the defensive coordinator. But I'm going to say it. I don't usually think the linebackers are supposed to attack the same gap. I think you're supposed to play your assignment. Of course, there's an element of flying to the football, and if you see the ball, you go to it, but you still have to balance that with playing your assignment. And they wouldn't have two people read the same assignment, especially against a Gus Malzahn offense, which is very complicated, very misdirection focused, very focused on making sure that your eyes are not where they're supposed to be. The best way to counter these types of offenses is to have multiple players with individual assignments. I do not think Lawson and Jefferson were supposed to take the running back here. I'm sure somebody didn't play the right play. So my thought is that Lawson actually was supposed to take the quarterback here. And so you can see number 42, who's on the D-line or kind of playing like that linebacker rush position, he crashes down. So if you're inside, if your defender, who is the read guy, so the guy who the offensive line doesn't block, that's the read guy for the offense. If that defender crashes down on the fake handoff, the quarterback is supposed to pull it and run. The linebacker does do that. But where's Lawson? You see Lawson and Jefferson both inside as if the running back is getting the ball. I think at best, Jefferson is supposed to stay there. That linebacker who crashed down, he's doing his assignment, forcing the quarterback to make a decision. And Lawson is supposed to be carrying the quarterback to the sideline. But instead, he's caught up inside. Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's how I read the play. Lawson has to run the quarterback to the sideline, and he prevents this play from happening. So let's keep going. On this next play, I'm going to actually highlight how this is really good play design from Florida State. And by the way, if I haven't said it enough, Florida State played good ball. Like, they're a good team. The narrative that Florida State is a 2-10 team, it doesn't make sense. I really hate that narrative. I don't like when people point back to the previous year to talk about what's going on in the current year, because they're different teams. Like, the Florida State, I want to say they had 8 new starters on offense and 4 new starters on defense, and most of them came from the transfer portal. In this era of transfer portal and NIL, your team can be vastly different year to year, so it doesn't make sense to say that a 2-10 team beat Alabama. It's say, no, this Florida State team who has some really good weapons and has a good coaching on offense to utilize those weapons, beat Alabama. That doesn't mean to say that Florida State is a world beater or that they're national champions or anything, but this is not the same team. So all that to say that you get good play design from Florida State here with Gus Malzahn as the coordinator. You're going to try to see Justin Jefferson recover here. He tries to recover. What's really cool about Justin Jefferson is that his speed is really good. So it's funny, it almost sounds like I'm talking about the wide receiver in the NFL, but this is Alabama linebacker. He's number 10. He's actually really fast. His issue here is that I don't think he should have set the edge, I think, on the blockers here. So I think he did the best he could with what he thought was going on. You're going to see he tried to split the blockers to get the tackle. He's running toward that sideline because he's one of the few who's able to notice it in time. So he's trying to run to get to that receiver on the end around. He tries to split the blockers so that he can try to get the tackle. The issue is that receiver is really fast. I think he's like a state champion in track. So I highly doubt you're going to catch him. To be fair, though, he did a good job. He actually forced the guy to take like an extra step to the outside. I think it probably would have been better for him if he decided to rush to the outside of the furthest blocker, forcing that receiver to cut back inside. And that would have allowed maybe the safety and the other linebacker / defensive linemen who are trying to catch up to maybe get some more leverage on their side to put pressure on him and maybe get the tackle. By him splitting the block and trying to get the tackle, he actually forces the wide receiver to the outside. The only other Alabama defender on the outside was, I think, Xavier Brown, the cornerback, number 1. He's getting blocked up the field. So first of all, he can't get off his block. That's crazy. He's done for. Right, wide receiver just runs straight past everybody at that point. So I think the better play for Justin Jefferson would be to go to the outside, force the receivers inside. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But really good speed by Jefferson. He could really utilize it in a different way, though. So let's go to the next play. You got Florida State with some good play design once again. Like I said, Gus Malzahn's a good play caller. I wasn't necessarily that high on him as a head coach, but as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator, he does what he does. And this is against the Alabama zone defense, and this is a zone defense that has a blitz from the cornerback. I want to say Xavier Brown blitzing here. So you're going to see Lucas, number 12 from Florida State. He's a fast guy, so they have some really fast receivers on this team. He shifts to a position like a running back, set right up the quarterback, Castellanos. He runs a wheel route. So Alabama's safety, number 12, which I think is Mincy, he looks like he got caught up on the inside seam receiver. So I think Alabama probably played a cover 3-ish or cover 2 like zone defense here with a blitz from the cornerback. And unfortunately, you have the safety, and which is why I think Mincy made the mistake. You have another safety in the middle of the field, in the deep third of the field, who's on top of the receiver that's in the seam that Mincy was trying to carry up the field, but that leaves that wheel route open. I think if Mincy had been playing toward the sideline, I think he would have been able to be on top of this receiver, and Castellanos wouldn't have had anybody to throw the ball to. And that's what happens when you kind of make these types of mistakes. There's a DB in the middle of the field. Trust your guy to make the assignment. You play your assignment. So I think the safety made a mistake here. Lucas burns him. They get up the field. So let's keep going. On the next play, or not too long after this, actually. Yeah, what's the next play? It's 1st and goal. The Alabama defense didn't play this pitch play terribly, actually. I think they actually knew their assignment this time. I think they were a little slow. So Florida State's blocking also, by the way, was like incredible, especially number 18, the wide receiver or tight end. I mean, he blocked 2 people, including Lawson. Like he took people out. The issue, I think, is that the Alabama DB, number 18, which I think is Bray Hubbard, and number 1, which is Xavier Brown again, they could have gotten to their edge faster. Because I think by them getting there just a little bit, like a half a step slower, it allowed their running back to pick up a little bit more momentum. And because of that, when they tried to make a tackle, he ran through them. So if they had got up there quicker, they probably would have stopped his momentum a little bit. And as you can see, they both actually got a hand on him. Bray Hubbard kind of did a diving tackle, and that's how you know you're a little late if you have to do a diving tackle. The main issue still, either way, was that Bray Hubbard, he missed the tackle. So even with a diving tackle, you got to stop him, push him back, or do something, but you got to get there sooner. So the safeties looked a little slow, reacting and getting back to the ball. And here's the last play I'm going to show you. If I can be at this all day, it's in the 4th quarter. So Florida State got a little misdirection to Danzy again. So same guy who Justin Jefferson missed the tackle on earlier and allowed to get to the outside. This is what's happening. You got some linebacker miscommunication once again. Both number 41, and you have Lawson this time, are in the same gap, once again, playing the running back assignment. Can't have two linebackers playing a running back assignment. I think number 41 has to play toward the sideline here. I think he's supposed to shift down the line and move over. I feel like this Alabama defense, I don't see a lot of responding well to the motion. I could be wrong here. Somebody speak out, but they seem to be, their reactions are a little slower. I feel like the Nick Saban style of defense, their reactions to motion and how to adjust to the play as it's happening was a lot more fluid and a lot more aggressive. This defense seems to be a little bit more reactive to how they respond to these motions and changes of the play on the fly. And it could just be a young defense. A lot of new players, the young guys, the recruits. Maybe they're not as comfortable with the defense, but that does create issues when you go against an offense that is going to try to confuse you. And that is what we saw a lot with this team, with Florida State. None of these things are like impossible to fix. All it requires is good execution and players knowing their assignments and being confident. I feel like Alabama's players have been lacking confidence for a while. And it's kind of crazy to think about that because you wonder why. It could just be part of this generations of players, like how they respond to things. Maybe there's some new pressures or just like those anxieties, the mental health issues that cause some of these issues for the players, but they seem to just lack confidence in doing what they're supposed to do. But we'll see. There's a lot more football to be played. It was a fun one to watch. Florida State, they deserve all the credit because they did what they were supposed to do. Like I said, Alabama needed to execute better. Florida State executed very well, really good execution. So don't take anything away from them. I don't think they're a bad team. Stop saying they are the 2-10 team. They're not. They're Florida State of 2025, who very well could go 10-2 this year. Who knows, right? So all that to say, thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about the defense. Let me know if you actually think some of these things are correctable. Let me know if you actually agree and you believe that these are some of the same issues we've been seeing for a few years now. I love to talk and dialogue about that. Looking forward to hearing from you all. Subscribe to the video, like it, share it with people that you know. Put it on Reddit, put it everywhere you know. It'd be great. And I'll see you next time.